We took risks in our relationship in having to do work and having to do what was required on our end. But you could have easily said no. And then I would have had to make some major decisions. I would have had to say, well,
yeah, right. You would not let me give you a no. I said no. I said no a few times. You were like, well, that's too bad.
But your no wasn't no out of like, no, it's not good for us, not good for you. It was no out of fear. And we worked through it. I didn't just storm out and be like, see ya. Welcome you to the CA podcast. This is Lance Garduna, and I have my wife Alexis.
Hey.
And this week, it's all marriage, it's relationship. Tomorrow, we're coming out with a Speak Life special.
Yes.
Because it's Valentine's Day, if you didn't know. So you still have time to go get your chocolates and flowers and Hallmark cards.
Hint, hint, man.
Don't forget to write in the Hallmark cards, I find out. And you'll find out more how I write my cards tomorrow.
This is your time to be mushy.
But if you really want to get Alexis and my take on
Valentine's
and sex
and sex and marriage
and
SEX.
relationships and all of that, check out tomorrow's episode on our channel on YouTube with Alexis, Speak Life special. But today's topic's really about when you're in a relationship and the unpredictable happens.
Right.
And when you say that, people are like, you're in an affair, you're doing something.
Jeez, you just
no, but you know how people's minds wander. So
right.
let's let it wander more for a second, linger. You're pregnant, no,
Boom.
None of those things.
I'm not pregnant, by the way.
Back in fall of 22, I don't know why you asked, but you're like, how much you spending or how much are we spending at CA?
Okay, because you didn't even give the backstory.
Oh, I gave the backstory.
You had to go
Nope.
randomly on a job.
I didn't randomly go.
Meaning,
this is leading up to it.
Yes. But leading up to that, I think I asked after I knew because I was like, well,
you didn't know.
You made me a little nervous. So I was
Didn't know.
Okay, so I didn't know. But I was feeling it in my spirit.
We were heading into a pastoral meeting regarding some ministry work, and this thought came in your mind.
It was a thought bomb.
Probably because you wanted to spend some money, and I may have said no, and you're like,
oh, my 30th was coming up.
That's what it was.
And I was like, I want to go all out and be extra.
You were slighted
because
I wasn't excited to drop the Benjamins.
The Benjamins,
yeah.
baby.
And you're like, well, how much you spend in a week at CA? And I told you, and I was locking the car door because you were ready to jump out the car. I was like, it's ministry, and we're building and believing, and everything has worked out. God hasn't failed us.
So then I was like, surely I can get that birthday party, that extra.
That is not what you said. You were more like, I can't believe you. You just wrecked off family. We changed. We changed attitudes. When did this ministry?
I changed attitude?
No, we did. I said we did. And we come back and I get a phone call. Well, it couldn't have been more than 3 hours after that conversation was started.
I was like, you do.
They're ready to start this project and they're going to start on Monday. That was, I think, a Tuesday we had this. And I got in the car with Alexis. I said, I think I got to go work in Fort Lauderdale for a little bit. And she's like, what's a little bit? You know about this? I said, no, I don't.
Babe, I think it was the other way around because I remember we went into the meeting and then you told them what you had to do. And I was salty about it.
Perception is always how we hear it.
I was so salty about it.
Okay. But anyways, project got rolling. I had 1 or 2 weeks to prepare. And then you find out I'm going to have to be gone.
I thought it was like a month. I'm like, that's really hard because the longest we've been apart was 4 days.
Right.
So I'm like, that's going to be really hard. But when you said 3, I about
murdered me. So it could be
no,
permanently.
that's a little extreme. But
I love that. I'm going to murder you. So
I did not say that. That didn't come out of my mouth. No, I did not.
So, yeah, sadly, it was going to be 3 months. I leave early to go get prepared for 2 days. And then this hurricane rolls through, pause the job, and you're livid that I'm not working.
I'm like, how are you going to go out there just to chill?
Well, I didn't plan on it.
Plan on coming every 2 weeks.
Right.
But now the 2 weeks was
moving around because we had started.
Yes.
But, to that story, nothing was how we wanted to work it out. Like,
right.
I would have loved to got started that week sooner, not lose a week, get the motion, get everything in a rhythm, fly back to help you. And I ended up being on for 3 weeks the first time.
Yes.
Fly back for Thanksgiving. And I'm here for a week.
I felt like you were like this celebrity or something, just popping in and out as you.
Seriously? But talk about the struggle of being like me just leaving one day to go work.
So I know to some it may be easy, but for me, I think it really brought up some past stuff that I wasn't prepared to face.
Set up there's no family around us.
Yes, okay.
No grandma and grandpas,
so
mom and dads.
We live in West Virginia, and this is not where any of us are from. God told us to move here.
Right.
So we were like, all right, we're going to be obedient and get up and move. And so it wasn't our preference or our choice. It was God's choice. So we're like, all right, aye, Captain. But it was hard because none of our families moved with us.
Right.
And so we're out here developing friendships and family, spiritual family, which it does feel like family, but there's something else about having your own parents.
Just say you can just drive by, drop the kids off.
Yeah.
And have a breather.
Other people are still living their life. They got their own like biological family. So I can't just do that. It's different. So when those times arise where I'm like, I don't feel good. I want to drop the kids off. I can't drop the kids off to granny or, you know.
Right.
And so when I found out that you were leaving, especially around the holidays, I'm like, wait, what do you mean? I'm like, the holidays is a time that we get together as family even more so than usual.
Yeah.
You know, we're hibernating because it's freezing. And so these are my thoughts. When you said that you were leaving, I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? And I probably was a little angry.
So I didn't know this. And I think this doesn't come up until like the second trip.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the first 2 weeks was really hard. After that, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm good."
Yeah,
I just wanted to throw that in there.
You were getting your rhythm.
Yes.
You were able to get to every event you wanted to get to. You were on time. Tired.
I was actually on time. I'm usually
tired.
not.
Things were working, and I think from my perspective, it stretched you in areas you didn't know you had.
I could do right.
That you could do. It just nobody enjoys the stretching.
Right.
I heard this best by assistant pastor to Rodney Howard-Browne. He says, everybody wants the breakthrough, but no one's willing to go through the break.
The breaking, right.
The breaking to get through it. And everybody around you's like, you got this, sister. You know, you can do this.
But the times that
but you're like, yeah, right. You don't know what I like.
I'm like, you ain't gonna do it. You ain't doing it.
We all say that in the minute.
It wasn't encouraging. I was just like,
right. But trying to get to those emotions, God stretched you and you delivered. You found out a whole new version of you.
Wow. Okay, super Lex.
Well, not only
God, obviously, I can't do it on my own.
You have to say that, or it'd just be unholy.
Yes.
I mean, glory to Jesus. Like you got to say that. Yes. But not only are you running the household.
Spanish.
Well, because we're Spanish people. If you didn't know that, Garduna and Cruz over there. Is that
I tapped into the other side?
You're running a household,
mm-hmm.
getting the kids handled. They all got fed. No one's arm got left off. Everything's working, running the household. But now there's a church event. One of your guys' biggest women's conferences happen.
All of this could have not happened around the same time.
You're a big key role player, and now there's no one to watch the kids. So it's walking you out of your comfort zone, having to ask people for help.
Oh my goodness.
For the most simplest thing. But a lot of people judge, well, you need help? And you're like, I'm trying to serve my local church house. But can you just help me? I'm not asking for money. Can you just be a help?
Right.
And some stepped up.
But that was hard for me though.
And they did.
To even ask for help. Because I'm that person where I'm like, I ain't asking for help. I will literally be dying with my arm chopped off before I ask for help.
When did you decide to ask for help?
The Lord showed me that I had issues with asking for help because of my past.
Mm-hmm.
Like through this, I had a lot of time to think and to spend time with God. And so at night, especially. So I was like, all right. And so, I mean, I was prideful in that area, unfortunately. And so I was.
You didn't know it was pride.
No, I just was like, I just thought that I was being an inconvenience to others. So I'm like, I'm not going to ask for help because they have their life. So why put that on them? Not knowing it was like a pride thing.
Right.
So I just didn't want to ask. So there was even a few ladies that were like, I told you to ask me. And they're like, how come you didn't? And I was like, well, and I was just honest. I was like, because it's hard for me to ask. So I'm like, out of sight, out of mind type thing. Like, if you're not asking me or seeing how I'm doing, I'm not going to just randomly hit you up and ask you. So in that, while you were gone, 3 months, I had to. So slow by slow, I had to like swallow that pride and be like, okay, I need help. Can you watch them a few minutes here? Can they go, like that? And next thing you know, I was able to get the things done because I had the village show up.
Did it become easier to ask after the first time?
Yes.
That like kind of
the load wasn't as heavy because I was able to have people that wanted to help. They wanted to be there for me. I had to allow them to be there for me.
Did you find that voice that was like kind of telling you a story went away?
Yeah.
Like, oh, people will say this about you.
But I did find out I had abandonment issues that I never addressed through this whole thing.
Well, I wanted to get to that. So
yes.
You finally started asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
And you realized, and then were we on the phone or was like the second time? I don't remember how or when.
It was the first 3 weeks that was the hardest. After that, I didn't have.
No, you said that. We started talking about something when I was home one time, and the waterfalls came on, and I don't remember if it was on the phone.
The waterfalls,
like the tears, the emotions.
Oh, I'm like the waterfall.
You literally, you just started breaking down, realizing that there was still this portion of abandonment. The reason why you were frustrated with me wasn't necessarily me and what happened. It was past hurts that weren't dealt with. And so
but I took it out on you.
Right.
Like I was like, how could he leave me?
That's what it was.
Time? I'm
like,
how could he
saying that?
I mean, I didn't really say it to you at first, but I was like, how could he leave me knowing that I'm by myself? Like I felt that was just like the abandonment talking because I'm like, I'm by myself. I'm really not by myself. I have my church family, my spiritual family. But in my mind during this, I haven't felt this in a long time, but I'm like, I'm by myself. Nobody from the church hit me up to ask how I'm doing. The kids, we all got sick. That's what it was. We all got sick and I'm literally dying. And I'm like, how am I going to take care of these kids and me? And I'm like, I just want my mom. My mommy. I'm like, mommy. And then
chicken
I'm like,
soup.
And she can't even come either because they're sick and you were gone. And I was like, this is why I cut everyone out. And I started to put a wall up. And I was like, whoa, where did this come from? And I was like, I don't care. Nobody got me. And I was like, how am I reverting back to that? Alexis?
You almost left West Virginia for a moment.
For real. I was like, I'll just go to Florida with my parents and stay there for a while until you come back. That was my thought. Because I'm like, they'll take care of me. They help me with the kids, blah, 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 blah. Then I went to church that Wednesday. It even got to the point where I'm like, I don't even really want to go to church right now. Nobody cares about me. I knew it. They said that they did, but they didn't. And it was just a lie I was telling myself. But I remember going to church on that Wednesday and one of our pastors starts to talk about triggers. And the minute he started talking about triggers, the Lord dropped in my spirit, that's a trigger. What you're feeling is a trigger from your past of abandonment you never addressed or fully forgave. And I didn't know that. I thought I did. So then he took me to the place and I remembered. And so I went up to get prayer and kind of like cried it out. But because I realized it, there was freedom in that alone. So then I had a conversation with you and I was like, this is what I was feeling. This is why I was mad at you, because I was taking it out on you, but it really stemmed from this issue that I felt like one of my family members could have been there for me during one of the hardest times of my life and they weren't. So it triggered all of that.
And on my level, it was super hard to see you going through and you could hear the chaos on the side of the phone, wanting to be there to help. And I couldn't. It felt like I was handcuffed.
Right.
Because I could only be an emotional, basically venting block.
I know sometimes I'm like, you can't do nothing anyway, so I don't even know why I'm on the phone with you. Click.
I heard those. But it hurt my heart because it's like you want to be there. And sometimes when you have a close friend, family member, you want to be there for them. And sometimes just being there, but being able to stand the barrage of either vocal, and you hate to say the word abuse, but it's like, that's not your normal character, but you have to stay in it and say like, man, they're really hurting.
Right.
And I knew it was like putting stress on the marriage, but it was something that was like, sorry, one day you're going to want to travel. You keep saying you're going to travel and do missionary work. I don't know if the kids, myself, we're going to go on every trip. It will be, I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
It might
I always
be
pray that. I'm
versa.
like, Lord, if I am supposed to do something like that one day, I'm like, you have to work on Alexis' heart.
I love how
we got to do it together.
So if you don't know us, Alexis always goes, sorry, I ain't the one. I ain't that wife to just, should I do that with like, I ain't that one, sweetheart. I ain't that husband to just grab the suitcase bag and just be your personal assistant.
I didn't say you were my personal assistant. I didn't ever say that. We would do it together. Like
I'm messing with you. But it's
whatever that looks
takes when you have this type of personalities in a marriage, we're both visionaries, sometimes going this way and then this way. And it works really well most of the time when we're running together, but then it comes into like who's right, who's wrong.
Right. It's cool you brought that up though, because the Lord did show me throughout this whole thing. He's like, you want to do so much for the kingdom, you know, together as like spouses, but also separately. And he's like, the way that you were, I relied on you too much with some things. So he's like, I had to show that you can do it, because when I am supposed to do something on my own for God or for something for the kingdom, I'm going to have to be able to know that I can manage people or do different things. So it really did stretch me in that area.
Well, look at what you did here.
And ask for help when I need it.
That we just talked about the household and like some church stuff, but look what you did here at CA. Like, you were running Tuesday morning encouragement. If you haven't got to check that out, every Tuesday, pretty easy to understand it. Encouragement. You're growing Speak Life. Mm-hmm. Then you decided, let's just throw this 31-day challenge out of nowhere and we're going to work backwards. It's all right. Like, you guys were developing it the day it needed to be released. Like, you guys were, you brought in a new team member, Amber. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was like, most people would have just said, let me figure out how to coast through. Let me survive. Right. You built through.
In the holidays and doing the things.
But you built Christmas party. Your ministry. You kept CA running from like plugged in, took over the mic, developed your mic skill. Like, you weren't just coasting, you were building. Right. And that's not normal. I think it was good because you kept yourself active, but most people just give up. Busy. But you give up under the pressure.
Right. Well, I mean, there were so many times I wanted to give up.
I remember.
Where I was like, why am I even do this? I could just be up at home.
Yeah, who cares?
Chill
But looking back, it has to feel good of what you accomplished. But you would have never known till you were in the fire.
So I was able to get to the point of being stretched, right?
Yeah, and it's in those fire moments where you're like, I know, you find out how much you can withhold.
Yes, and I had to rely on God like I never had before.
And others.
In that situation, and he really, like, our relationship got even more strong because I'm like, God, I don't know if I could do this, but I know that through
you and God, or you and me?
No, but I mean, when you came back and would visit too, like, I don't know where I was going to go with that, but it just showed me like how much I missed you as well, and our relationship.
There's perspectives. You get kind
of, it says the absence of the heart makes the absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Right.
So.
Well, and so the flip side is, I'm working retarded amount of hours. So I'd leave it at dark for the job site, and I'd get back to the hotel at dark. One day I was able to leave early and I got lost because I didn't know what direction the hotel was because I wasn't used. I needed to see the lights on. I was like, I don't even know where
it wasn't because you don't got them glasses? That's just supposed to be getting.
You're so...
You don't want to admit the 40-year-old.
Lord. I'm trying to be endearing to you and say, like,
just kidding, I love
how much I missed. You walk, it was Christmas time, so I walked them all to get you guys presents. You see all these couples, you're like, well, I wish I could turn to my side and be like, hey, would you like to go do this? And it's like me listening to a podcast, me, listening to what you guys are doing.
And I'm just showing up to the parties with the 2 kids running around by myself.
Yes. Continue to tell me, I hope you're happy. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm just doing what the job requires. And sometimes that's the sad part. It's just what the job requires. Mm-hmm. It required you to change diapers. It required you to cook and be responsible for the kids, and only you were doing it.
Right.
And I had to run. And a lot of times we just say, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, we have a choice. And so I want to say to all the single parents, like, if you're listening to this, I literally commend you because I don't know, like, how, like, by the grace of God, because doing that was like a hard 3 months. And so I couldn't imagine, like, I really feel for you guys. Like, at night it's lonely and you never get that time. And
well, not just the commending, but we should never judge a single mother and judge the children.
I have a lot more grace, man.
They have 2 roles.
Yes.
Mother, father, but they also have single provider.
Right.
And it's like, we look at them like, oh, man, can't she control them, man? And it's like, our heart should be like, can we help you?
Yes.
Like,
because that's my heart. I'm like, I can help in any way.
Right.
Please. I'll watch them so you can get some you time
But perspective is so important to these situations because we don't know what it's like until you're in it.
Right.
And I just want to stress is that so many times we make decisions because we don't want to do it.
Right.
You would have never said, please leave. Please go away for 3 months. I can't wait to see what it's like to see how well this is going to work out.
I was thrown into it.
Yeah, you had to be pushed into it.
Pushed.
And so I think a lot of times people miss opportunities, especially in ministry, because ministry is never on the clock favorable to what we want.
Right. It's always during the most inconvenient time.
Yes.
Where
do you want people to come in and live in your house? Do you want to move to a new city? Do you want to go to the mission field?
Right.
I don't know what it's going to be like. What kind of food am I? You don't know until you hit the ground.
Yes.
And a lot of times people want to know the whole story and make sure it's easy. Mm-hmm. And I want to encourage you, like, you don't know. This is a little insight to what we had to go through this Christmassy, whatever, January season, was a lot of just making it work.
Right.
And
we'll give here, we'll take here. And
it was, because I know you kept saying, don't you have employees for this? So if you don't know, I have a pool business with my dad, and I've got supervisors and salesmen. It just happened to be the busiest time. We had sold so many jobs. There was nobody left.
That's a good problem.
It was, but then
at the cost of you.
But what was it? It was a problem.
Right.
And so what happens is we get frustrated because we think that we should never face a problem.
Right.
And it was literally left up to me to come in. And I could have said no, but I would have created another problem that would have been more detrimental.
Because it was needed.
Well, I would have ruined our reputation. This is a time-sensitive job, and there's so many things. But I want to encourage you, never avoid a problem. You have to go through it to make it rectified. So it's having the difficult conversation. It's having those moments where it's like, I don't want to be alone, or I don't want to step out, because we don't know what's going to happen. Right. You'll never know till you do it.
Right. That's good.
And I just saw somebody blossom over the 2.5 months as you started.
Are you talking about me?
Yes. But even like here at Culture Architects, it was the most perfect time for everything to happen. I leave, we pause some stuff, we build these studios, things happen.
And they're amazing.
Well, they're amazing, but I would have been sitting on the sidelines,
just waiting.
Of course, I probably could wrote some stuff. I would have been all up in Vinny's grill, being frustrated that this wasn't that way. But God allowed it for this place to develop, this place to have new looks, new faces, all these different things. But we didn't see that the first week. Right. We didn't know going in what we'd be coming through on the other side. But a lot of times we don't really trust the Lord through the process.
Right.
We always see that picture in almost every one of our grandma's house where there's the footsteps on the beach, and there's two, and then there's one, and Jesus is carrying us.
Yes.
But we don't really think that Jesus is carrying us through the situation. And we've got to really trust that God does have our back, that God is getting us to the other side. He does make our crooked paths straight again. And we'll only know when we fully trust him that he'll do it.
Right, because when we do get to that place to where we're just like, I'm going to do it on my own, that's when next thing you know, you're like isolated from everybody, because you're like pushing everyone away, because you think, like I just said earlier, you think that everyone's against you or not wanting to help, when in reality it's because you're not fully trusting in God that he's going to bring you through the situation. You don't have to put your hand on it, because he's going to get you to it. Mm-hmm. If he brings you to it, he's going to bring you through it.
Yes.
So.
And that's how we grow.
Right.
That's how, we've been talking on and on about your mic abilities and how you took the prayer show, the Tuesday morning encouragement show, now Speak Life, is like everything has grown. But if you don't take those opportunities, you don't know who you're to become.
You don't know the capacity that you can.
And we see these individuals have spent 25 years doing something so well, and we get frustrated by the first time, and it's like
they've been doing it for years.
Yeah, and it's like
it's natural now.
Now you're not gonna freak out if something happens.
Right.
There's new growth in all of us, and there's a trust level. There's the love. Like I get so concerned with young people. There's no one's risking, or the hurts don't allow for you to risk.
Right.
There's some people that are
even
older.
With our generation, like even this is an example, but as moms, there's like these like elbow, knee pads, head pads for when kids learn how to walk. And I'm like, yo, like, how's he ever supposed to feel pain? Not that because when they fall, they don't die unless it's like up high. But
if you haven't got a chance to meet Alexis analogies, they didn't die. What you're trying to say is they got to learn not to do that. If our kids had elbow pads, they probably would be trying to do a wrestling move and be like, well, that didn't hurt. Let me do it again.
No, but I know some people that literally have the helmet and everything while they're learning how to walk. And I'm like, if they don't ever feel that pain or if they don't, you know what I'm trying to say?
So I'm going to use a different analogy. It's fine. It's like we have some people in our lives that will not fly.
Yes.
I was so thankful for an airplane that flew into our town because I could be back at the job site in 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I got the pleasure of driving from basically Miami to here.
Ugh,
it felt like 2 days, and I logged almost 27 hours. I'm like, Mr. Google said it would be done in 15 hours. Where did 10 hours go? We didn't break for anything. And it's like...
Well, you were pulling something, so it took a little longer.
I still was moving at 65, 70 miles an hour.
But missing turns and stuff? Weren't you?
I was like 30 miles off track on one point. That shouldn't lose 9 hours. What I'm saying is, because of someone's fear, they won't get on a plane. They can only stay geographically to whatever their tolerance is for a car ride. Some people won't go get a job because they're afraid of the rejection. They won't take that opportunity. Some people won't step out because of I don't know what it looks like.
The unknown, right?
Yeah, I won't start that job or not that job, that business I want to do, because what if there's no work there?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you don't know until you start.
Right.
You know,
that's good.
It was me and you with this idea of a ministry
mm-hmm.
that didn't grow in with Vinny,
mm-hmm.
but then Brian, Chad, now Amber, now there's more people wanting to come in and intern. It's like God's breathing on this out of us not trying, but doing obedience. But what if we were like, oh, it's COVID, it's not the right time.
We're going to die from...
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep using that word. Let me stop.
You're loving this. But again, we took risk in our relationship,
mm-hmm.
in having to do work and having to do what was required on our end. But you could have easily said no. And then I would have had to make some major decisions. I would have had to say, well,
yeah, right. You would not let me give you a no. I said no. I said no a few times.
Well, and
you were like, well, that's too bad.
But your no wasn't no out of like, no, it's not good for us, not good for you. It was no out of fear.
Right.
And we worked through it. I didn't just storm out and be like, see ya.
I think I had a week.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like days. A see ya, but it's all right.
Days. But, again.
I needed that push.
Yes.
And I realized.
And it's hard in marriages because no one wants to start that fight.
Right. So you wanted to start it?
No. You're unreal. I want to know how you're going to wrap this up with all your interesting. We've got elbow pads and like sucking up buttercups. We got like
sucking up buttercup.
Don't worry about COVID. By the way, preface. Sadly, your grandfather did pass away, so it's not like you're mocking COVID.
No, I'm not.
But this is.
I'm saying like if we have that fear and we never live because of that fear,
we would have never built this ministry. There would have never been a good time to start. There's never enough money. There's never enough.
Well, I know of people that's even close to me that were locked up in the house for 2-3 years because of COVID. And that's where I'm like, you have to live. You can't allow fear to stop you from living.
Right.
And so that's what I meant by that.
Yeah. And so it's, again, walk through the fire, trusting the Lord, knowing he has your back, knowing I'm going to come out on the other side, beautiful, restored, redeemed. Yes. But in it, yes, it's going to feel like hell. Yes, because you're being stretched. Things are breaking off of you. Things have to fall off of you. And a lot of it is fear. A lot of it is fear-based because we don't know what the other side looks like. We don't know the destination. We don't know really anything other than our Lord. We sing this song, and you're a worship leader. The King is on the throne, or we have all these songs about the King.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't move. Da, da, da. We don't believe them. We're just singing them, not believing them. And it's like, we have to start believing our words. We have to start believing the word of God, the worship, because if we don't do that, then what do we stand on? And,
right.
I just want to encourage you, take risks, take chances. When the Lord is saying go, then go.
Right. And then, stuff in marriage and in life in general, it's going to arise. Like, our situation, he had to go. He had to go do it. And so when those things take place and when those things happen, you have to change your perspective to, okay, God, this is our time to partner together to get through this. Because if we don't have that mindset, we do have a choice. We have a choice to either go through with it or to just stay there in our comfort zone and stay stagnant. But in that, you won't ever pull on the faith that God is trying to stretch you in for the next level that he brings you to. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense, because a lot of times, especially women, get this feeling that it's only the husband making the big decisions, and they're just the cheerleader.
I guess.
And they're not.
Yes, what is it called?
I don't know.
The yes man?
Oh, like yes woman. You're saying.
Yes woman.
But in this, God didn't just like let me go do what was needed for the business and my sake. Mm-hmm. God grew your ministry, grew so much, but you yielded to him.
Even when it hurt. There was nights that
it wasn't your option. It was not you. Right. And I think a lot of people get hurt and they just sit on the sideline pouting, going, well, I guess I'll just forgotten about.
You can sulk in the pity.
Yeah, I'm on the sorrow bus.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage you, get off of that. Stop thinking you're left out, forgotten about, because in these tough decisions, especially when you have a spouse, God knows your cares, knows your desires, and wants to see them happen. But it requires you to get in and get active. That you could have denied all of your responsibilities and just wrote in and said, look, guys, Lance is gone. I'm probably not going to be available. I'm not going to be able to get to church early to be part of the worship team. I'm going to have to resign my, helping out on the women's team because I don't really have a babysitter. Mm-hmm. But you found a way to pursue and just be diligent and keep pushing inch by inch. Some days not wanting any of it.
Yes.
But I'm sure looking today, you wouldn't have said no to anything.
Right.
You're not regretting.
Now that I'm on the other side, I'm like, oh my goodness, I would have did it again.
You would have done more.
Know that it was,
And that's my biggest thing is at the end of our lives, no one ever says, oh, I served way too much.
Right.
I took way too many chances. No one is ever like, I should have had a calmer life. It was always the life of regrets.
Right.
I didn't call my family and make amends. I wish I would have tried this business idea. I wish I would have got more involved in ministry. And so I want to tell you today, get involved, take the risk. Don't let something that sounds uncomfortable deny you of your next season, because this one flourished, CA flourished, all due to something that made us all uncomfortable and made us make a decision that was not the decision we would have chosen.
Right.
Because I had made a commitment to not go back to work in the guise that would pull me away from the family, pull me away from the ministry. Mm-hmm. But I had to in this moment.
Right.
And I hadn't done it in 4 years.
Yes. And now we're about to, I don't know. Yeah, we're about to go take a trip and reconnect and be able to, laugh about the past 3 months, because we grew from it, I think, individually, right? And together as a family. And so where there's a will, there's a way.
That's how you end it. Yes. Where there's a will, there's a way. So we're so thankful you guys joined us. Don't forget our Speak Life special on Valentine's Day.
Yes, it's good, guys. It's juicy.
Don't forget Wednesday's Speak Life.
Yes.
Tomorrow's Tuesday morning encouragement and all that CA does here.
Oh, and Friday. The Back Pocket Creative.
Back Pocket with Chad.
Love you guys.
See ya.
I'm so used to doing Speak Life. I said. But I love you guys too.
We're still going to leave it like that.
You're going to leave that?
Yep. See ya.